If there's one thing that describes Manor Lords, it's that it is a beautiful game. From viewing the streets, looking at your town from above, to walking around the streets in third person, one thing is clear, this game has been made with beautiful detail. You can see the marketplaces, you can see the town evolving, villagers walking around, carrying goods, farming the fields, walking around, pushing carts, animals walking through the fields, villagers bringing their supplies and processing them. From hunters that hunt the deer, to the transporter that transports back the meat and the hides, to the granary and the storage facility. The seasons are also very nicely modeled in the game, from winter to summer. You start with building a village, which is a quite simple process. In case you already have another region, you simply place down a so-called workers' camp or settlers' camp that will house 5 families to start out with. If you have more regions, you can either select the amount of starting supplies and confirm that. And the rest of the process is quite identical to starting out initially in the game. It's just placing down a couple of these structures, such as the logging camp, the hunter's cabin, or the forester hut. And of course, don't forget about the granary and the storage shed. The road system, or the way that you place these roads, is very intuitive and very simple and flexible. As you can see here, you can make all kinds of nice connections. Once you've placed down all your buildings and you put in some workers or working families, more or less, you can start to see how your town is going to shape. After you've placed down these buildings, you can start by placing a marketplace, which will house all the market stands of the different families that supply the town with various items, such as food, clothes, or other wares. You can then start by placing down burger lots, which are the housing in this game. This is also again a very flexible system that is easily adjustable. As you can see over here, you can adjust the size quite easily. And by changing the size, you can also change the way that these operate. You can have plots that can actually house another family by an extension, or a so-called backyard. The villagers will start to build these little huts initially, and that will form the basis of your entire small village. Next step is usually to place down one of the churches in order to boost morale or approval rating, which is one of the primary ways by which you can grow your town in terms of inhabitants. Farming in this game actually has a very interesting mechanic. You can place down fields after you've placed the farmhouse, and the farmhouse actually houses all the workers. These fields come into, you can just shape, like with the housing, in different shapes and sizes, determined either by roads or by your own assignment. And they have different fertility levels depending on the crop that you want to farm. So usually you just place a couple of these fields because the single farmhouse can support quite a lot of these fields of a decent size. What follows is actually that you can use different crops per field even, in a system called the crop rotation. These crop rotations serve 2 purposes. Not only can you then distribute, of course, the production of different types of crops, but it also boosts the fertility level of your field. Also, within the game and within regions, there are differences in terms of fertility in areas, which you can also further boost by having other technologies using development points, such as, for example, using a plow or using fertilizer from sheep. Development in this game is actually quite interesting. At the moment in early access, not everything is available, but it's divided into 4 different sections: farming, forestry, ironworks, and trade. Each of these sections has different nodes that you can unlock, and these different nodes lead to either production boosts or more resources that can be harvested from a research node in the game and region, or can serve as a way to activate new products or bonuses. And I think this is actually very interesting, because even though it's now very limited in early access, you do see that you can specialize your region in a certain area. And that makes the region itself a lot more interesting. The amount of points you obtain by upgrading your town to certain levels. So here you see an overview of various regions. There's currently only one map actually available in early access. But you can see you have clay deposits, wild animal deposits that are rich, berry deposits that are rich, or iron deposits that are rich. And the rich nodes actually are just having a more, let's say, resources stored in them. But also, like in the case of a mine, you can develop it towards a deep mine, and this deep mine you can unlock with the development points. So that's where the development points tie into the game. See here, upgrade to deep mine. And this allows you to obtain resources indefinitely from these nodes. What's also very interesting is that you can see how well and how detailed buildings are being constructed in the game. They're really constructed log by log, almost wall by wall, which is unique compared to many other games. What you can also do in this game is you can have a retinue once you have built the manor. You can customize the knights that you employ from the manor in this screen. You can change the headgear, you can change the armor and the weapons. The diplomacy aspect within Manor Lords at the moment in early access is still very limited. You can apparently in the future declare a war. At the moment you just claim a region, and that will end up in a big fight. But I guess in the future there will be more opportunities there to negotiate, maybe to trade, but at the moment that's not in. A battle will commence once you or the AI claims a region. This will result in you having to mobilize your forces, which can either be your militia, your retinue, or mercenaries. And these forces you then have to send towards the area on the map that's indicated where a battle will commence. Once you rally your militia, which will use recruits from your town, which is just your inhabitants, and also these inhabitants will start to pick up all the supplies that they need for the war, such as spears, swords, and their armor. You can then send them towards a certain location on the map where they start to rally. And these rally points will then, of course, allow you to focus your forces. Again, here is one of the things where Manor Lords shines. You can see the upgrades on the militia that you have developed within the town, such as them wearing helmets, them wearing gambersons or armor, which is very nice in terms of how detailed this game is. At the moment, the formation and group functions within the game are still very limited. Battles are still very dramatic. Even though the number of units and forces that you have is limited, you still get a good idea how brutal medieval combat would have been. Compared to Total War games, the number of commands that you can give or assign to your forces is still very limited. You can, however, set the aggression levels of your forces. You can set them to push forward, you can set them to defensive, and you can set them to avoid missiles. Combat animations, however, are very detailed in this game, especially for a city builder. That's actually one of the biggest strengths of this game. Individual enemy units can be defeated by either routing them or killing off all the individual soldiers within the group. Tactics like flanking an enemy unit seem to have an impact also on the likelihood of them routing the field. Once you have defeated or routed all the enemy AI units, you can claim victory. After claiming victory, you can claim the region and you can start a new settlement. Bandits can also devastate your villages. Again, you need to mobilize your militia. If you are not able to kill them off or mobilize your militia, the bandits will start to loot your town, kill villagers and burn down individual buildings. This can set your village back quite dramatically. Luckily, however, you can easily rebuild anything that has been burned down.
Well, perhaps it was simply a bad bet. These things do happen from time to time.
So in summary, what do I think about Manor Lords at this stage? Well, it's still clearly an early access game. There are some bugs here and there, but those will be resolved, I'm pretty sure of it. It has a very active and very ambitious developer, which is good for any game. I hope that in the future the castle mechanics will be expanded towards more stone structures, like a stone castle and a stone manor house. But I believe that for what I've seen from the developer, this is going to be the case. Furthermore, I'm very much looking forward to seeing the AI more on the map. From what we know, the AI is going to be active on the map, building its own villages and towns. And I hope to see more expansion in terms of production. So at the moment we just have sheep, but I do hope that in the future we'll be able to raise cattle, maybe breed horses and donkeys, and perhaps also have pig farms as well. Furthermore, there are some strange choices at the moment, such as goats only providing hides but no meat nor milk, and that every single family that produces something seems to have their own need for a market stall. That said, in summary, do I think that this game is worth a buy? I would say definitely yes. If you like and enjoy medieval themed games, if you like and enjoy combat, if you like and enjoy a city building game, this is definitely the game for you. So I think it will appeal to a lot of people, as also stated already by the amazing amount of purchases of this game that has been realized. And from what I know, this is by far the best game that seems to combine all these different aspects of multiple games into a single one. Again, it's not a total war killer, also stated by the developer himself, but it does feature a lot of unique gameplay in a game that I've never seen before.